This is a public service announcement brought to you by Hindsight. Relax, rest your eyes, and listen to the words of Pastor Chuck.
So when he was come out of the ship, immediately there met him a man out of the tombs with an unclean spirit, who had his dwelling among the tombs, and no man could bind him, no, not with chains. He had supernatural powers. They couldn't even chain him, because he had been often bound with the fetters and chains, and the chains were plucked asunder by him. Supernatural power, demonic power. And the fetters were broken in pieces, and neither could any man tame him. Actually, he was a menace. People could not pass by his way, according to Matthew's gospel. And always, night and day, he was in the mountains and in the tombs, crying and cutting himself with stones. Today, in traveling in Israel, recent archaeological diggings have uncovered the city of the Gadarenes. It is on the northeast shore of the Sea of Galilee, probably 3 or 4 miles from the site of Bethsaida, slightly south from Bethsaida. Nearby, in the mountains, are caves. The caves in which it is believed that this, and of course Matthew tells us there were 2, but this one prominent one, in which they perhaps lived. Adjacent or just down the hill from these caves is the only steep place that leads into the Sea of Galilee. All around the sea there are gentle slopes into the sea. There is only one place in the Sea of Galilee where there are steep bluffs leading down into the sea. And so you know that you are pretty much at the site of this particular event when you are going around the Sea of Galilee. Can you see the picture as Mark paints it for us? A man whose life is desperate, wailing, crying, night and day. People could hear him out there in the mountains, cutting himself with stones. A horrible spectacle to see, and also horrible to hear. When he saw Jesus afar off, he saw the little ship coming. He came running to Jesus and worshiped him. It is interesting how that the demons recognized Jesus, and even though they were in rebellion, they were forced to worship him. And he cried with a loud voice and said, "What have I to do with thee, Jesus, thou Son of the Most High God? I adjure thee by God that thou torment me not." We find that Mark tells us that the demons did know Jesus, and Jesus usually would order them to be silent because they knew who he was. In the synagogue, that man who was demonized said, "We know who you are, the Holy One of God." They recognized him. Here, the demon addresses him, the Son of the Most High God, the title that was given to him by Gabriel to Mary. And I adjure thee by God that you torment me not. Now, according to Luke's gospel, they were begging not to be sent to the abuso. They were asking for further liberties here on the earth. Don't send us to the abuso. For Jesus had said to the man, or said unto him, come out of the man, thou unclean spirit. And Jesus asked him, what is your name? And he answered, my name is Legion, for we are many. And they begged Jesus that he would not send them away out of the country. Now there was near unto the mountains a great herd of swine that were feeding. Now, though Galilee was called the Galilee of the Gentiles, yet according to the law, pig was unclean meat, and the children of Israel were not to eat pork. And of course, that was a part of the dietary law. And as we have learned through the years, the reason why God incorporated it in the dietary law. Because in pork there is a certain worm, and if you don't cook it thoroughly, the worm isn't always destroyed, and it can cause trichinosis in a person. So that is why God incorporated in the law that they just weren't to eat it, rather than telling them to what temperature it must be heated before you dare to eat it, you know. And so what was happening there actually was it was, according to the law of Moses, an illegal industry, the keeping of pigs. And so they sought Jesus, saying, send us into the swine, that we may enter into them. I know people who thought that their dog was demon-possessed. Here it is interesting that they did desire embodiment in something, even in the swine. And so Jesus gave them permission. And the unclean spirits went out and entered into the swine, and the herd ran violently down a steep place into the sea. There were about 2,000, and they were choked in the sea. That isn't to intimate that there were 2,000 demons in the man. All you need is for a few swine to panic, and they'll begin to stampede. And so as the demons entered into the swine, it caused a stampeding. The swine knew enough to not want these evil spirits in them, and they were drowned in the sea. And they that fed the swine fled, and they told it in the city, which is just a 1.5 or 2 miles away from the site, and in the countryside. And there went out to see what it was that was done, all the people from the city and the roundabout. And when they came to Jesus, and they saw him that was possessed with the devil, or demonized, that had the legion, he was sitting and clothed and in his right mind. And they were afraid. What a contrast. Controlled by the powers of the underworld, the man was a maniac. He had no control. Miserable, weeping, cutting himself with rocks. a menace to the people, now under the control of the Spirit, sitting clothed in his right mind. Now, don't you think that the people would have really rejoiced over this transformation? Wouldn't it be the natural response to just be so excited that this man who was so tormented is now sane, no longer a threat to the community, no longer needing to be bound with chains which could not hold him anyhow? And they that saw it, that is, those that were feeding, told them how it befell him that was demonized, and concerning the swine. And they began to pray Jesus to depart out of their coast. What a reaction. Would you leave, please? The tragedy is they thought more of their swine than they did the needs of a man. They put the needs of animals above the needs of people. That's unthinkable, isn't it? What kind of people would value animals more than people? We're sort of returning, aren't we, to a godless kind of a concept that elevates nature above man. As Paul declares, they worship and serve the creature more than the Creator, who is blessed forevermore. And so they begged Jesus to leave their area. And when he was come into the ship, he that was possessed with the devil prayed Jesus that he might be with him. I can understand that. I wouldn't want to live around these people who were more interested in the swine than they were me. I wouldn't want to live in that kind of a society or community. Howbeit, Jesus did not allow him, but he said unto him, just go home to your friends and tell them the great things the Lord hath done for you, how he has had compassion on you. And he departed, and he began to publish in Decapolis, that is the 10 cities of the Upper Galilee, what great things Jesus had done for him. And all of the men did marvel.
You have been listening to Pastor Chuck. This public service announcement has been brought to you by Hindsight. If you found it helpful, please like, subscribe, and comment if you wish. We at Hindsight says, thank you for your time.